What time is it? What time is it? Oh, it's time for Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage.
The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Wes, with those hot stock tips on tomorrow's stock market, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. It's obviously I'm in Australia, so that's right. The time zone. It's my morning, and kicking off the day strongly.
It is my favorite thing to say you're calling from the future because it's March 25th where you're at. We're only at March 24th, and you're already a day ahead. You're starting your day right now. You're having probably going to breakfast right after this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And what a wild time in history we're living in right now. So it would be nice to know the future, wouldn't it? Right now, there's so much going on.
Yeah, if you could please calm me down a little bit. I'm on the edge of my seat every day anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Well, Wes, I've been looking about Uplift 360. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your agency and what you're doing, what you're building over there in down under, right?
Yeah. Digital agency. So we do websites, we do search engine optimization, and we do it mostly for the trades construction industry. So anything trade and construction related. So a lot of building materials websites we work on, and the optimization of that. So a lot of steel companies, actually global steel companies, for various reasons have come on board. So anyone in that sort of field, we work to global audience as well. So being online, that's the beauty of it. So, and with the fuel the way it is, I can't drive anywhere. I can work anywhere and still get the job done.
Where's the furthest away you've ever worked from?
Right now we're serving a client in the UK. That's probably distance-wise for us the furthest, I'd imagine. Probably on the opposite side of the globe, pretty close to. So, yeah, you can't get further than that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's incredible what the internet has done and the way you're able to scale your agency, the way you're able to serve a global market. Congratulations on building something spectacular.
Yeah, well, you've got to have a point of distinction to be able to do that. So you've got to be known and recognized in the industry in which you serve. So, and because we're niched, that's kind of how it works. The other way of going about business is to not niche to a particular client, but to niche to a location. So you'll be the local, the local web designer. That's another way of going about it, but we've chosen to be specific in the industries we serve. Just different ways in which you can build a company. Obviously, if you're a local trade, if you're a plumber, you need to focus on a local region. But for us, it's all online, so we can work anywhere.
Yeah, I've niched down all the way to the only live news podcast about live podcasting recorded live on Tuesday nights. I'm very specific, very niched down. And Uplift 360, what's the best way to find you, contact you, Wes? Anybody wants to reach out?
Yeah, uplift360.com.au. Don't forget the AU because we're here in Australia. But as I said, we serve anyone around the globe, and you can book a strategy call with me straight on the homepage. There's a big button there to do that. So that might mean if you're on the other side of the planet, might mean you're getting up early, or I'm getting up early or late, but we'll make it work for us.
Sounds good. Are you ready to get into our stories?
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Our first story tonight, we're going out to a bicycle convention talking about niching down. At the Adventure Travel Show in the UK, a niche cycling expo drew thousands of highly engaged attendees, but one key detail stands out. Live podcast recordings are happening right on the show floor. This is an example of how podcasts can plug into existing events, tap into aligned audiences, and create meaningful content on site. For creators and local businesses, this model shows how to leverage built-in crowds instead of starting from scratch. And one of the things we talk about all the time is, go where your audience is. If you're in the bicycle community, the construction community, and there's conventions, events based around that topic, that's where you should be showing up. Whether you're just an attendee or whether you're part of the entertainment, there's an audience that's already interested in what you do. I don't think there's a faster way to scale your business than to just start attending these industry events, industry conferences.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, go where the fish are. If you're a fisherman, no good fishing in a river where there's no fish. You best get to that river where the fish are flowing and the type of fish you want to hook on. So, and same with business. So, ideally, we want to build out our own lists and audience and so on, but that takes time and effort. It's far easier to leverage an existing audience who are already primed. So, you can serve them really well. So they're already there and in existence. So it's a matter of casting the net out where they already are and engaging in that way.
Yeah, in this example, if you're a bicycle manufacturer and there's a conference full of bicycle enthusiasts, that's your core demographic. That's the people that you want to meet and connect with anyway. That's where you should be. Whether you have a booth or whether you reach out to be part of the entertainment, it's a win-win for everybody. The consumer gets more knowledge, and then you get to meet more consumers.
100%. It's just so powerful to connect in that way, and the engagement factor as well. To have a room full of people is still pretty exciting in this digital age we live in. That interactivity of a human connection is powerful.
Yeah, nothing beats face-to-face. Nothing beats in real life. You can have downloads on your podcast. You can have likes and comments on social media. But until you shake someone's hand, have a conversation, or sometimes there's mixers at these events, you have a beer or a drink with somebody afterwards, you don't really get to know the person or make a connection until you're face-to-face. And this just is a 200 times multiplier from getting somebody to just download your podcast to be able to sit down and talk with them about what they're passionate about. Yeah,
it's so good. I've been to lots of different events, and one probably 12 months ago now, maybe 18 months ago, it was super small but super niched. So it was a room full of trades, construction people, businesses, and I had a little booth there, and I got more inquiries out of that little event than some of the massive events I've been. I had booths at different things over the years. So the more targeted, the better, in my view.
Yeah, and with our next story, knowing where people are starting to spend their time, I had mentioned social media a little bit. Podcasting is starting to replace social media. 40% of people are saying it's replacing social media time. 34% of people are saying it's replacing streaming music. They're exceeding these social media platforms now in daily time spent. So keep that in mind when you hear this next story. Podcasting is bigger than you think. And if that's where your audience is, or you can find an audience who likes to listen to audio about what you're doing, this could be a great growth opportunity for your business, for your interest, for somebody you want to entertain. Because podcast isn't just growing, it's replacing other media habits. Listening is up nearly 4 times over the past decade, and that time is coming directly from social media and streaming music. People are choosing podcasts because they offer deeper engagement, trusted voices, and intentional listening. For creators and brands, this shift signals a major opportunity. The audience is not just bigger, it's more focused and more likely to take action.
Yeah, the beauty of it is you can listen to what you want to listen to when you want to listen to it. So, I mean, if you're watching just the general television programs, you're kind of limited in what you can see, and it's more mainstream. It's not really specific. I mean, I was just listening to a series of podcasts around Airbnbs, just simply because that's my need right now, setting one up, never done it before. So listening to various experts in the field, so you can really drill down to exactly what you want to listen to when you want to listen to it. I listen a lot in the car, so drive time seems to me that everywhere I drive is about 30 minutes. So that's a lot of episodes are about 30 minutes, so you can kind of chunk that down, or there and back, and if it's a longer form as well. So it's great.
And that's a great example. You're getting interested in Airbnbs, but you're setting one up, you're getting ready to publish one or make one live to the market. And where did you go to consume information? You went to podcasts to hear from experts. And just like your industry with construction, there's probably people who want to hear all the things you want to talk about. It's just this great environment, this great way to share information, to position yourself as an expert. Like the podcast you chose, to you, that host is now an Airbnb expert to you forever. You're always going to remember what they did for you, how they helped you, how they pointed you in the right direction. And that's a great lesson to take away for businesses thinking about, well, what would I talk about? Well, talk about the things that you do.
Your own expertise. And the curious thing too, so I listened to a couple of different ones, but one of them in particular, the ideas and advice were really, really powerful and really helpful. But the presentation wasn't that great. But I didn't care. I wasn't looking for a polished presentation, a professional speaker. I was looking for an expert in the field. So that's the beauty of it. I think a lot of us dismiss the potential to do a podcast simply because we don't feel that we're a good enough speaker. But if you've got the content, and we all do, we're all experts in something. If that's worth sharing to one person, it's worth sharing to many. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and if you're in a business and you've answered a question for a customer, chances are somewhere out in the world there's 100 more people with that same question. So if somebody needed help with it and you're providing that answer, maybe a podcast, maybe a video, maybe there's a way that you can scale your information and reach more and more people.
Yeah, 100%.
So for every show, I always like to find some stories that are related. And it's construction conferences and events, they come and go. They're hard to find, but there are a lot of construction events out there that do live podcasting. So the best I could do for you today, Wes, was go to Australia. I don't know if you know where Rottnest Island is, but this was a world's first, happened in Australia, so I could get close to you, but I couldn't really get into your industry. But I thought this was just so great, and it's almost close, probably somewhere close to where you're at. A marine biologist hosted what is believed to be the world's first live underwater podcast off Rottnest Island, using advanced tech to stream from the ocean floor. The goal wasn't just novelty, it was education, engagement, and inspiring the next generation through a truly immersive experience. Despite major technical and logistical challenges, the event proved that podcasting can happen anywhere and that unique formats can dive deeper audience connection. And this is a story that I just loved. There was a live Q&A from the bottom of the ocean floor. They were reaching out to schools and live streaming the schools. Just a really great way to expand what you think a podcast can be, but even expand where a classroom can be and show people and teach kids about what's going on in the ocean and what's happening. I loved everything about this story.
Yeah, it is so cool. It's so quirky but the important part is it's really suited to what they're sharing. I could put my podcast at the bottom of the ocean, but that would be irrelevant because we speak about construction. But if there's, I suppose, a quirky way in which you can present your material and make it more real for the people, that's a great creative thinking to make it happen. And also, I'm sure the technical challenges, it took a bit of work to get that done, no doubt. So I think even if there were a few little glitches, I think people could look past that and realize, hey, this is something pretty special. I know a few divers. My partner's actually a diver as well. I think she'd be really engaged in doing, viewing something like this and being involved in the Q&A. I think it would have been really powerful.
Think back as a kid watching all those PBS shows with Jacques Cousteau and taking the boat out into the ocean and then diving down, and now they're doing that as a podcast in real time. You're not waiting for the show to be edited. You're getting dialogue and you're getting a live stream from the bottom of the ocean floor. Just brought back all those fun childhood memories of watching PBS with the family and getting this education or seeing what's happening in the world.
Yeah. As far as I've got to that is Finding Nemo. That's about all I know about the ocean. So,
Well, let's keep it moving right along. We got another story about the CISO podcast. This is about, I think, technology and being secure in your data systems. But this was called B-Side San Francisco. The CISO series podcast took to the stage inside of a movie theater, blending live podcasting with networking, games, and audience interaction. This wasn't just a recording. It was a full event experience built around content, community, and sponsors. With structured segments, sponsor integration, and interactive elements, this model shows how podcasts can become anchor attractions at conferences and drive both engagement and revenue.
Yeah, pretty powerful, isn't it? So it's a hybrid of your typical conference with lots of activations, people might call it, to engage people, but also to cast the net even further and to have it broadcast through podcasting platforms. It's a really cool idea. And again, it probably took a tremendous amount of effort to get the tech working and to get it all cohesive. But I'm sure it's paid dividends. Did you say it was run by some security-related people? Is that?
Yeah, the CISO series. They do like internet security, and they've been doing a lot of live streams at conferences. This is a good model to look at if whatever industry you're in. They've carved out a niche in that security industry around computers and technology and networks, and they're doing live shows. This one was positioned as a key attraction. So the larger conference was promoting this B-Side series with the CISO series, and they were using them as the entertainment for the event, and they had multiple sponsors. So this is another path towards monetization. A lot of podcasters think I got to build an audience, and then I can read ads for mattresses or MeUndies or something like that. But they're doing a live show, and they're getting paid to perform. They're getting paid to show up. They're getting sponsors, and they're making money in different ways than just trying to build an audience and read ads. So you think outside the box. How can you become profitable? How can you make a couple extra bucks? Or how do you even just network with the right people to find new clients? That can also be a form of monetization.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? For some an industry, security to internet security to you might think that's sort of boring and bland, but to have such a creative way in which they can engage, it's really well done. Good luck to them with their future successes.
I love finding podcasts in industries where I never would expect to see podcasts. And I think I've done a couple stories on CISO, and you just don't expect a securities industry isn't going to be that exciting, but they have a big following. They're touring conferences all over the country, and they're doing shows in Boston. I'm not sure where this one was, but I think that was San Francisco. They're doing all kinds of stops, and they're getting paid to travel. Their accommodations are most likely being taken care of, and they're doing what they love. They're talking with people who love what they talk about. Yeah,
I really hope some of these ideas are getting the creative juices flowing for the audience as well. So thinking through how they might apply some of these ideas to their own position.
Yeah, I mean, just like we start on that first story, go where your audience is. I think that's the best lesson to take from this so far is if your audience is gathering somewhere, that's where you need to gather.
Go to the audience, but also take your audience to the place in which they want to go, which is the bottom of the ocean. So you got those two different ways of looking at it. So it's a way in which, just engaging people in different ways, bringing them to your world or going to their world. Both is about connecting with your audience.
And both position you as an expert. So whether you're taking your audience to this new conference and giving them a new experience, or you're meeting new people as the expert, as the podcast host, you are just really engaging yourself as the expert in that industry. You're showcasing yourself and your talents.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, let's keep it going. We got another story coming your way. A live podcast featuring David Carpenter and Jeremy Miner highlights how podcasting is being used as a tool for leadership, influence, and business growth. The conversation focused on skill building, mentorship, and personal branding, but the bigger takeaway is this. Podcasts are becoming platforms for trust building and conversion. This wasn't
Yeah.
this wasn't just content for listeners. It was a stage to demonstrate authority, build relationships, and drive real business outcomes. I'd say if you're in the sales industry, if you're in leadership, you're getting direct lessons kind of from two people who have done this in the industry, who have had success, and you're going to get that firsthand knowledge directly from them as they sit down, have a casual conversation, and talk about like, hey, what are you doing? What works for you? How are you building teams? You get that almost like it's a free education.
Well, it's always interesting listening to people who are experts in sales and or marketing, the way in which they present, because there's two levels of information we can learn from. So we can learn from what they're saying, what they're teaching, which is obviously powerful. They're experts in their field, but also observation of what they're doing, because they're experts in the field in which they're delivering. You can learn by observing how they go about things. And so I think there's two levels in this instance, and they're quite right. The building of authority is so important these days, and that's the biggest power of podcasting. I think you're building authority in the space in which you play in, because you're constantly sharing and building a base of knowledge and understanding and getting the information out far and wide. So I think, that building that authority and trust, it feels to me trust is being eroded. The more and more we look at online, we spoke about social media before. We don't necessarily believe what we see or read. We don't necessarily trust videos because we know that can be faked these days. But when there's an engagement factor and then there's that authenticity in the way in which you're presenting and building the trust, I think that's where true value is these days, particularly in a marketing world.
Yeah, one of my favorites. All the links for all these stories and the sources, they're all in the show notes. So if you've watched this video, my favorite part is the first 30 seconds. They don't even know that they're live, and they're just carrying on being normal people and asking questions, some tech questions, and they're like, "Oh wait, we're live." Oh, yeah. They get caught off guard, and it's just a real honest moment about the things that can happen. It's never perfect. It's never it doesn't go 100% the way you want, but in this case, they didn't know they were live at first, and then they did the show. They still did it, and it turned out great.
There was a funny. I was on a podcast last year, and they started recording before it was ready to publish, but they were just talking away. They ended up publishing that whole conversation on the podcast as well because they felt it was useful. But it was just us having a chat. So that is interesting. I didn't know they were going to do that. They probably didn't know, but when it was published, I saw, hey, this is all the pre-show stuff, and they chose to publish it, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, sometimes it works out that way. Sometimes you get some good nuggets early on when the guards are down and you're just having casual conversation. But I think they should probably disclose that, hey, this isn't the podcast. This is the podcast, or this isn't the podcast.
Yes, true.
And Wes, it goes by so fast. We're on our last story already. The BBC opens the doors. The BBC is launching CastFest, a live podcast event at Maida Vale Studios, where audiences can watch major news podcasts recorded in real time, participate in Q&A sessions, and even create their own content. This marks a major shift from traditional broadcasting to audience-inclusive experiences. It signals that even the legacy media sees podcasting not just as content, but as a way to build deeper connection, transparency, and community.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to look over people's shoulders and see how they go about doing things, observing what they're up to. I mean, I've launched my own podcast this year, Built, Trusted, Chosen, and so I could only go by what I observed being a guest on other people's shows, but you can only see what you can see on your end. You don't know how they've set up, other things behind the scenes. So, we learn by observation again. So I think that's pretty cool. I've got my backdrop actually is running late. So I've got a backdrop going from podcasting studio here, and I've got a temporary one at the moment there, you can see, but we just keep improving. But it's cool to see how other people go about things.
And you're seeing so much traditional legacy media. You're seeing newspapers sponsor live events in small communities. You're seeing radio stations that used to do remotes. Now they're doing remote podcasts. They're taking their morning show and doing it at a nighttime in a bar as a special event. You're seeing TV stations do the same thing, and the TV stations are even producing their own podcast content that they're releasing outside of the TV network. And it's just such a testament to how strong and powerful podcasting can be and the type of connections you can make with this new medium. It's not new, it's 20-some years old, but it's just a way to connect in a way that you can't get with legacy and traditional media. The doors are wide open, the opportunities are wide open, and if traditional media is seeing it, maybe it's something you need to consider for your business.
Yeah, for sure. And so there's a guy here in Australia, Carl Stefanovic, who has been on television, morning shows and so on for quite some time, but he's just launched his own podcast. I think might have been earlier this year, not long, but it's giving him the freedom to share some of his own views and opinions as well. So I'm sure, now I don't know because I haven't read this, but I'm sure he would have felt a little bit limited in what he could share through other people's platform, large media. But now it looks as though he's having a whole lot of fun doing what he's doing and just being open and sharing his own views. He's got some distinct views. We all do. But it's good to hear them from him.
Like I say, nobody has your perspective. Sometimes people get limited in their beliefs, like, oh, well, somebody already did this concept, or I've heard people talk about that. You may have, but the world hasn't heard you talk about it, and what your perspective and what all your experiences through life have brought you to how you see the world and how you see things. And if you're nervous because you think it's already been done, it hasn't been done your way. So keep that in mind. You have your own voice. You have your own style. Nobody can replace that. Nobody can copy that. And in the time of AI, what better way to show the world you than to just be you and not be a cloned AI bot?
Yeah, I know. It's somewhat worrying, the fake videos. We can create an AI version of ourselves who never ums and ahs and says the right thing all the time. But is it really us? No. Is it really our message? Not really, because we're complete human, flaws and all. I think it's always more engaging that way.
Well, Wes, this has been so much fun talking to you from the future today at Poduty in the News. This is the time of the show where I give you back the floor. I turn it over all to you. You can plug, promote, talk about anything you'd like. Wes, the floor is yours.
Yeah, cool. Well, since we're obviously talking about podcasting, I'll speak to my experience of setting up Built, Trusted, Chosen. So it's a podcast for trades and construction people, and had a bunch of guests on, and it's been a wild journey of just learning as well. So it's always good to have guests on and to listen to their heart and what they're doing in the construction industry. So we're a digital agency. We do websites and search engine optimization and all that stuff for these trades construction businesses. But it's good to understand them at a deeper level because each guest who's in the field has something new to share. And also you start to see patterns of what they're speaking about. So, when I see a common thread of something that they're all sharing, a lot of them are sharing, then I realize, hey, that's a real need for the industry right now. So it's great from that perspective to continue learning. And I just love people, so I like to talk to them and find out more. So it's been a great journey. I think the first few episodes were a little bit rough, but you kind of learn on the journey and get a little bit better at it. And so it's been wild. It's been a great way to market the business and what we do. We have people reaching out as a consequence of listening to the podcast or even watching reels. So we chop up all the episodes into reels and so on to go on social media. Some of the reels take off massively. So some bomb and that's fine, and some go really powerfully. So the one piece of content can be repurposed and remassaged into so many platforms. So it's really helping us to get a brand out there and awareness and so on. So really enjoying it. It's been a great journey so far, and looking forward to stepping it up with, as I said, the new backdrop coming in, which is meant to have been here. So just some curtains and so on, and lighting and so on. So yeah, it's thanks, Jeff. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you, Wes. I'll have all your links in the show notes. Uplift 360. Wes, do you remember what time it was?
It's time for the news.
What time is it? What time is it?